we've added plexiglass in between the desks to help with the social distancing. We're also spread out, but they rented plexiglass, and people started drawing on them. And they were like, why is yours so bare? So I have designed mine a little bit more recently.
There you go. Nice.
So I'm not even close to an artist. I can't say that I did that freehand, but
that's better than I could have done for sure.
This is The Cross Section with Nate Lull and David Edelstein.
Featuring special guests Tom Maggiolino and Matt Janczuk.
Search Henderson Silver Knights. It's the new AHL affiliate of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh wow, that's interesting. It looks like a horse's head or something. Am I seeing
no,
the right
it is. Yep, that's it.
I don't love it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
I like the simplicity of it. I'm a logo guy. I really have always enjoyed my logos. Maybe that's why I have so many different hats that I get to show off here. But
right.
I like logos. I like the simplicity of it. I think it's getting some backlash for how similar it is to the Vegas Golden Knights logo.
I see one here that's side by side and it's very similar. But I mean, if it's their affiliate, I guess that works.
So. Oh yeah, I mean, if you're going to criticize that, I'm a New Jersey Devils fan. Think Albany Devils. I mean, the Binghamton Devils came up with a new logo, but I was actually in favor of them just doing the B with the tail.
Yeah, sure.
But that's their secondary logo since they moved. But I mean, if you're going to talk about logos looking similar, let's look at ones that have already existed for a while. Major Arena Soccer League said never mind to their plan this week that we had talked about in detail about 2 weeks ago. Major Arena Soccer League, which includes Utica City FC, had a plan for a playoff scenario where they were going to have 5 days of training camp into 10 days of playoffs at one arena, and they were going to have it all with testing and everything, they said, and they thought it would bring a lot of attention to the league, which would be interesting in a time where there's no other attention really anywhere else except for drafts and conversations on how to come back. But really, after that whole thing, they came out with a statement this week that said, basically, never mind.
That was going to be my question. Did they actually just say never mind, or was it a little more formal?
Yeah, no. That's my interpretation, and that's what I've been explaining to people. Is basically they just said never mind. Like the statement was a little bit more formal than that. It was along the lines of, we've reassessed the situation and realized that it might not be in the best interests to return. And they kind of left it at that, which is basically saying, never mind.
No, it's interesting, and I know that you and I both talked to Dr. Robert Zayas about, New York State high school sports, and I keep coming back to this. He said that we just can't assume things. We can't go too fast. We have to take our time, and I know everybody's in this time right now where they're ready for sports to come back, try to get back to some sort of normal, but I keep going back to those words that he used of I can't make any predictions because I don't want to have to go back on them. So it's interesting that they got kind of stuck in that boat a little bit.
Yeah, they had to go back on it. And I don't blame the Major Arena Soccer League. They didn't necessarily straight out say why they were coming back, except for the fact that they wanted to have the playoffs. And they were the first any sports league that I heard of that said, yes, we're doing it. That was, the first time I had heard that. But I can't blame them. They never specifically said why they were doing it. But it seems that from that one line in the original press release that said, we think this is an opportunity for the league to get unprecedented viewership, that might have been a good reason for them to come back. And it is. That would have been if they could have done it. Obviously, we're all wanting sports to come back in their capacities and finish the seasons. And they laid out the plan with all the teams and everything. But I don't know what the discussions were, but clearly it was very quickly they realized, okay, maybe we actually can't do this for whatever reason. And it would have been a money thing too. if there are no fans, how is the money going to work? Maybe they were and it's it's not a thing you pay for viewership. So it was going to be free views anyway. It would just be like name generation recognition. So I can't blame them, but that's definitely something that went back in time a little bit this week and just reversed course. The NHL, though, going the other way, they released more details about their playoff plan. Did you catch any of that this week?
I caught a little bit of it, and I did some reading and stuff. But I was really interested in the coverage that you put out there, actually. About for me, it was more interesting to see like what AHL guys might be going up and joining the teams that are making the playoffs. So I thought that was really interesting for some of those Comets guys. It's like, what have they been doing? Have they been working out and staying in shape? That's pretty unique. But yeah, tell me about some more of the details on what the league wants to do.
You hit the nail on the head. That's actually the exact connection that really remains right now for our area, which is that the Utica Comets are the AHL affiliate of the Vancouver Canucks. Of course, that's all the way on the West Coast, so it seems weird to be talking about the Canucks so much, but the Comets are right here. And some of the Comets players, if the season returns for the NHL, will be joining them. Reed Boucher, we spoke with, he was on the AHL first team this year, and he was second in the league in goals and second in points. He said that he's had conversations with Comets general manager Ryan Johnson, saying that he will be one of the ones to join if the season returns. And other names that float around there are Brogan Rafferty, who didn't make an NHL appearance this year, but he was on the all-rookie team this year. He was on the AHL second team, up there in he had 38 assists, which was up there, and total points also for defensemen, rookie defensemen, just defensemen in general. He was very impressive. So he might be one of them. Other names were like Justin Bailey because of his size and his speed. He's a forward. So to be able to have some of these guys that might join Vancouver. And the big thing is that the NHL said midweek that we have now, it's pending approval whether we're even going to come back still. But basically the plan is if they do, hey, right now, all NHL teams as of Monday, June 8th, are eligible to start training in groups of at most 6 players at their home facilities. So this could become the time where some of those Comets players are called to Vancouver to start working out again. Because someone like Brogan Rafferty, we asked him, what are you doing to stay in shape? And he was like, I have rollerblades and I'm rollerblading in the street for like 3 miles. He's like, it's hard to do 3 miles of rollerblading, but that's what I'm doing. He's like, he said that he was willing to pay a local ice rink where he is in Virginia to let him skate. He's like, I'll pay you like $100 to just let me get on the ice. Reed Boucher said he wasn't doing anything. He didn't have rollerblades. He didn't, there's nowhere to skate. So staying in shape will be interesting for all the teams. But now it's voluntary for the players to go back, even if they're called to and the teams do start. Because it's voluntary for the teams to start, then it's voluntary for the players to even go back if the team starts. So there are a lot of measures in place. But basically the NHL said, hey, on Monday you can start, which is a pretty big move.
Yeah, what an opportunity for some of these young guys, too, that in the traditional setting might have had to wait it out. Maybe they get a chance, maybe they don't get a chance. Now it's like they could go up there and make an impression. And even if they don't maybe play a lot in these games, if we get that far, like make an impression on their work ethic and just being around the big club a little bit more. And maybe then they get a chance sooner than later up there. So I a unique opportunity for those AHL guys that could get a shot. And if they're cramming this season into a shorter time, guys aren't working out, they're back, are we going to see more injuries? So are guys going to get pushed up the food chain? Like, really interested to see how it all works. I'm really see what local guys will get a chance to do.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the fact that with this less practice, there might be more injuries. Some of the players have said that they'd be able to get back in shape, but it's always a factor. And I mean, even throughout the season, when players get called up, they're trying to make that impression, or at least trying to learn from the guys around them for what it takes to be in the NHL. But speaking of taking time off, I know that one of our 2 featured guests this week is someone who's a varsity baseball coach for the Whitesboro boys varsity baseball team. And he and I this week had a chance to talk a little bit about what happens after an entire season off for high school where the players move up a year. And I know that he has a lot of interesting thoughts about that we only touched on. So we wanted to have him here on the cross section. So we'll welcome him now.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So you're the Whitesboro varsity baseball head coach. How many years have you been doing the head coach?
This is my 11th year now. 11th year.
Have you ever seen anything as crazy as this for a season?
Absolutely not. I've been in the game 30 years now coaching, and nothing like this has ever come close to happening. So it's a new world for all of us.
So I know that what we had kind of started talking about on Monday, and what we could, I guess, just let the conversation flow from here, is about how your team has had a lot of success over the past few years. And what I know is that in 2017, the Warriors won the sectional title. 2018, your team lost in the sectional finals, though. And then in 2019, last year, won the sectional title again. So give us a little background on how far your team's made it in states and any other of the kind of recent successes, because clearly there's been a track record of success here.
Sure. I could start back basically 2010. This all got rolling. We won the section in 2010. And that was a Final Four year also. We went to the Final Four, state Final Four. We beat in the regionals. Wow, turning back the clock on me now. We'll move forward. We lost to Pittsburgh Sutherland in the Final Four. I remember that. They're a quality team out of Rochester. 2011, we won the section again, and we lost to Burnt Hills in the regional. And now we fast forward to 2017. Again, that was a section championship year over Janesville DeWitt, 3-2 in 8 innings. It was a nail biter. It was a walk-off situation. And that year we made it to the Final Four, and we lost to Vestal, who won it all in 2017. 2019, we beat JD again in a thriller, 11 innings, nail biter again. Always have titles with JD. They're a quality program. And we lost to Boston Spa in the regional, and again, they won the state. So those 4 sectional years that we won it all and then made to the Final Four, we lost to the state champ every year. So, as far as that's our track record up to this point. As far as our program overall, though, I look at a process that starts basically when the kids are first, second grade. This process starts with our summer camps. And every year we have a Whitesboro baseball summer camp, and we start seeing these kids as 7 and 8 year olds. And then again, the process is started there, and you see them every year. So you see their development over the years. We have 50 to 60 kids at our summer camp consistently. But the process of it, like I said, is great to see, because you're going to, again, be around these kids now every spring and summer for the next 10 to 12 years and even past that. We've had some great stories when you watch the kids in our program from that spot. And this is going to be a little lengthy, but we'll get it out of the way now, because I think it's important, because that's the process of our program, what it's all about. As they progress through into their camp years, it's a big brother, little brother type of deal, where we have that whole crew from 7-year-olds to 12, 13-year-olds. It starts, and we have a big buddy, big brother type of situation where the big guys look out for the younger guys. And then that cycle turns into those 7, 8-year-olds eventually move on to being the 11, 12, and 13-year-olds. Now they're the big brother at the camp. Rarely do we have any issues at the camp. When you have 7-year-olds and 13-year-olds, you would think, okay, there's going to be some conflict a little bit just based on age. But when we start implementing, what we are as a program and how it's a big blue family, starting that young, the big brother aspect kicks in. And I think that is huge, because the younger guys get the confidence younger. And then again, when they're the older guy, now they could be the big brother. Now you move on into the modified years. Now they're in our program, and they've been hearing the same message as first graders, second graders, and now they're hearing the same message all that time. Now they're in our program as 7th and 8th graders. And now what we look at our modified crew as like a mini varsity. You know, if you look at how they practice, what they're wearing, they got their blue on, they're organized, they have a structured practice, similar to what we do at the varsity level, but obviously the skill level and the speed's going to be a little slower. That's obvious. But again, the program and the culture is set there. Then we move on to, you know, now they're in the high school. They set foot in the high school as ninth graders. So now you have the 9 through 12 group. And again, we don't look at it as, oh, he's a JV kid, he's a varsity kid. No, he's a baseball player in our program. And I think that is really that tight knit, starting when they're young to where they're older, is huge. Over the years, we look at former campers, former players, and now I have former coaches that were at that camp. I'll let you interject right now, but I can come back to this story because there's a great ending to it, but I'll let you guys have a chance to talk a little bit.
You're leaving the ending for later?
Well, I can come back to it if you want to just ask a question up to this point. I'll come back to it, no doubt.
My one thought here, I'll start off with the questions for you, and Nate and I will kind of go back and forth, is you mentioned that and about the mentorship kind of that your team has and how the message continues throughout Whitesboro. And I've heard a lot from the football and from the basketball teams that I've covered so far that there is that kind of tradition and common messaging that you're all in it together. What happens now when you miss an entire season of having, you know, the senior leadership, the senior mentorship of some of the players for the younger guys that have stepped in the program, and then going forward where that didn't happen, but not only did it not happen, but you might have some really young guys joining your team next year that just don't have any of the messaging yet.
Yeah, and that's where that cycle kicks in. Like I told you the last time we talked, this past year, our group of seniors, we had 10 seniors. And I want to say 5 to 6 of those seniors were 3-year guys. So they're obviously on our team for 3 years. The foundation that they laid for our freshman and sophomore of last year, that's there. And again, we discussed it a little earlier. Our workouts all winter were great, you know. And as we got closer to the season, we were ready to roll. We were humming. We had everything where we wanted it. The mindset was there. You could see the younger guys wanting to lead like the seniors of last year, you know. And that again, that's that common bond when they're younger to older. I'll finish up that story. I don't want to leave everyone hanging on the camp story, but went to a grad party, one of my seniors last year, and this is when it really hit me. Joey Crosley, he was his junior year, he was our starting second baseman. But in 2019, he needed to go behind the plate. That's where the team needed him. That was the adjustment we had to make. So we caught. So he's an outstanding individual, great kid. So I'm at his grad party. You know how the grad parties, they're all set up, the pictures, the awards, you know, the food, the whole deal. I'm like, Coach, come on over and check this out. I walk over where the picture section was, and he's like, Coach, check this out. There's a picture of me handing him a medal when he was like 10 years old at the camp. So this is like 2010-ish, and I'm looking at that going, wow, there's one of our captains, a catcher on a section championship team, one of our leaders, and here we are, 2010, I'm handing him a medal. I just thought that was, you know, great, and that sort of summed it up for me, how you could have that continual cycle. And also our coaches, Coach Ryan Watson, he's our pitching coach. He works with the outfielders. He was a former player of mine, and he went through the system as a player, and now he's on my staff, and I'm very lucky to have him on my staff. He does an outstanding job, but it's that culture, it's that program from when they're younger to older, and you can't beat it. It's something that it's not all programs can have it. I'm thankful that I have that, but we work hard at it too to keep that mindset for everyone involved. It's like a big family, you know, and whether they move on in life, I still have players that come by the field at games. Hey, Coach, how's it going? We'll talk. I'll introduce them to our current players. Some of our former players have moved on, but they worked our baseball camp for 10 to 12 years. You know, one of the jokes with one of my players, he graduated 2008. I had to put him on a 403 plan. He went to he was working our camp for almost 10 to 12 summers through his high school years, his college years, and when he was out of college, he kept coming back. So those are the things that you like. You know, if you're doing that with your program, you know, there's going to be positives that come from that. So I'm blessed to have a lot of quality kids, number one, in our program. They want to work. You know, they're gritty. They're hard-nosed. They want to be coached up. They're very coachable. The character with our kids is something that is needed, and we have. You know, I'm so glad to have high character kids. So there's a lot that goes to it. I mean, we could touch upon it a little later, but again, to that story, that's what really hit me, where it starts young, and we got to build on it as you get older, obviously.
Coach, you talk about building your program from the time guys are young players, and it just sounds like they absolutely love putting on the uniform, playing for you and your staff. Like this happens with the coronavirus, and it's just taken away from some of these guys. What has been your message to them as they – a lot of athletes that I talked to in Section 4, they're just having a tough time. What has your message been?
Yeah, sure. I mean, across the board, for all the seniors, and no matter what sport they're playing, you know, the graduation and their spring sports, you really feel sorry. You really feel sorry for them. It's terrible. It's such a impossible thing to explain, to want to accept. You can't, you know. So it's very hard, and to just try to be positive the best you can, to look for, you know, maybe you can play in college. You know, hopefully some of our guys can still play in college. And one of them, I only have 4 seniors this year, so it was a smaller senior group. But still, that's 4 seniors that lost their senior year. And it's tough. It really is a situation where none of us have been involved in anything like this. So it's tough to have that, like, great pointer for them, or, hey, you know what, this is going to work out because we haven't gone through it. We're living it day to day right now.
When you and I were talking on Monday about how baseball is such a technical game with a lot of skill, taking an entire year off could really have an effect when you get back into it finally. It will take a while to get back to you have a spring training. It takes a while to get into the season, and you work all year, let alone taking a year off from maybe even workouts. So this year with your seniors and with the messaging and everything and the success trajectory, seemed that there could have been a lot of potential for Whitesboro. But when you come back next year, what are your thoughts about how you get everyone back to that so that you can pick up where you left off?
You know, it comes back to the foundation and the core of what we're all about. You know, it comes back to our beliefs. It comes back to the expectations that we have. It comes back to the kind of kid that we want. It comes back to, did you do any work from where we are now? You know, if there's no baseball at all, what can you do on your own all summer? You know, is there any form of skill you can do? Can you get together with some other guys and do the old sandlot version of baseball as a form of it? Once we get into the school year, and we don't know what we're doing with fall baseball. I also coach football at Whitesboro, assistant on the Varsity. So we have a possible football season coming up. We may have a baseball season. I mean, there's just so much unknown out there. But back to the baseball point, whenever we get going, we go back into the mode like we just played a season. You know, you can't look back and say, well, we didn't have a year. It doesn't matter. That's yesterday. We got to move on for today and start working, like roll the sleeves up and just get at it like we always do, no matter if it's 2010, 12, 18, that doesn't matter. Get right back to what we believe in and get back to our work. And then before you know it, we're hopefully in another season. So,
Coach, you done any research? I know down here I'm hearing like some pony leagues and stuff are looking at maybe they could do something in the fall. I mean, anything on possibilities of maybe some fall ball, anything like that?
What I'm hearing, so I talked to a couple of my players the other day. I was at a little drive-by graduation college thing, and I was talking to some of my former players, and they said there's a possibility of a small, like, Legion season, a 10-game season, and right into playoffs out of Murnane Field in the Utica area. And also they mentioned a possible throughway league through Duluth. Again, this is all new. I'm not sure what stages they're at with this, but it looks like there's a possibility of some summer baseball for those kids right now. Again, I don't know if if it's legit or if it's going through. It's in the early stages. So that's where I'm at as far as the summer news. I haven't heard anything else as far as fall, spring. You know, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's almost exhausting trying to think about if there's going to be a season or not. You know, once the health professionals give us the green light, let's go. Let's play ball. It's tough to play baseball when the integrity of the game is getting tweaked, where, oh, we could use a baseball, but then you have to clean it. There can only be 10 people. I mean, there's just so many aspects of it that if you can't play the game the right way, is it worth even playing with all these extra phases and rules? You know, it's just, I'm a dinosaur, I know, but it's just tough for me to go into a baseball season when you can't play the game the right way, for any sport for that matter.
What would you argue, or what would your points and perspective be if you were in a conversation with someone who was saying, you know, having 10 games and then a quick playoffs would be something that we should do? What would your points be? And I ask that because, speaking of Bernayne Field, the Utica Blue Sox and the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League canceled their season. And one of the things the Blue Sox representative spoke to me about was the reason they were saying, you know, that it made sense to cancel the season was because it's already such a short season anyway. And with all the college kids coming in, it takes 2 weeks to settle in. Then you get to know your team. Then you play. Then what? 2 weeks later, you're done. So they were saying that they wanted to give a proper experience. But I can imagine there would be some people that argue something is better than nothing. I haven't heard anything about Legion except for the fact that Legion canceled their season.
I don't know if it's a form of it's not Legion, it's the Legion Kids.
Okay, like
I don't think it's not an umbrella under Legion. Again, it's just a couple days ago I was talking to one of my players. It's some form of a season, but obviously it's not under the Legion umbrella. Again, that I know of right now.
So regardless, I guess my question is, if you were in a conversation with someone who was saying, yeah, let's play 3 games, something is better than nothing, what would your kind of response be?
Well, again, I'm open to all options. It's not like I'm open to, you know, a couple options. You name it, I'm open to it. If it's worth all of us putting our effort and energy, any form of baseball would be great. You know, I just don't want to have it where we're trying to play a game and you can only have 3 fans, you can only have 10 players here. It just seems like a logistical nightmare as far as having an actual baseball game. But again, I'm open to anything. I'm open for any form of baseball. Obviously, in this situation, we want to play.
As far as football, what do you think your expectations are for this season taking place, given the fact that this June 10th meeting for New York State Public High School Athletic Association is coming up, and there really are a lot of considerations about what's going to happen this fall, a lot of predictions at this point, nothing tangible. What do you think will play out and should play out come the new school year?
And again, it goes back to our health professionals. It goes back to these phases. Now, football is one of those phases where it's phase, I think, 4. It's one of the last sports that you can get to because of the physical contact. So I don't know how you could play a football season. We're still in phase 1 right now, and football's a phase 4. So the actual combative part of football, it's impossible, you would think, where we're at to play in the fall. And all you're hearing now is possibly like working out eventually, but then it has to be a certain number of players. You touch the football, you get into all that again. So again, it's a logistical nightmare. It's a situation where you're trying to work out, but it's still not where we want to be. If the professional sports can lay that model, I think that's what we're all waiting for. You know, that's what we need to see. Major League Baseball, whenever they're going to figure out what's going on with them, that's a whole nother story. And then with the NFL, so watching the professional ranks, what model are they going to lay out? And then we'll look at, okay, we're a high school situation. We're not a professional situation. We don't have the availability probably of all those tests in that quarantine type of situation like the professional teams do, or, you know, using just one specific workout center and things like that. So it's looking for a model to follow, but then again, there's a pro model and a high school model. tough to mesh those two.
Do you find that these measures that the NFHS laid out are too extreme? Do you think they're accurate for what precautions need to be taken right now? Or do you think that there's maybe even ways that they should be more considerate to the situation?
You know, it's such a touchy situation. You know, people, they don't want to be wrong. They want to be extra, in this situation, they want to be extra safe. I get it. So by being extra safe, it's going to take some time to get through these phases. So it's frustrating. You know, we all feel like, wow, it's really, you know, to this point, really, do we still need this? But I guess obviously we do, because that's why we're in the phase that we're in. So we have to just, you know, rough it a little bit and get through it. We're just hoping it speeds up.
Coach, you talked about going to one of the graduation drive-bys and doing kind of all these weird things. For you on the personal side, has it been hard to physically not see your guys? I'm talking to a lot of coaches that are like, you know, I see my guys every day in school. If I'm here and we're at practice, I'm spending a majority of time with my guys, and now it completely got cut off. I mean, how are you personally feeling about that?
Totally. I mean, that's you hit the nail on the head there. We want to be around our players. You know, we're a family. We're a group. We have a lot of fun. We work hard. We have a lot of fun together. And it was a college grad party that I went to, a drive-by the other day. And then just to socialize a little bit, from 6 feet, just to socialize, was like, this is great. Just to see our guys and catch up and talk, and just to be in a social type of situation. So not being around the players since March 13th, we're pushing 3 months now of not physically talking to our current returning players. Like I said, I was telling David, we didn't have a team yet because the tryouts were March 16th and we were home March 13th. So we didn't put a team together yet. I had my 9 returners, but you're right. We have not really talked to any of our kids physically since then.
And maybe you spoke about this with David before, but like in your mind, if you're out mowing the lawn or you're at home and you're thinking about your team, like where were you envisioning you guys getting to this year? Like, hey, I think we could get back to sectional final. I think we could run at states and get down to Binghamton. Like, what were you thinking?
Well, to tell you the truth, the last 3 months I've been thinking about a lot. I've been painting a lot of rooms in the house, and there's a lot of time to think. And a lot of jobs got done that I didn't think was going to get done. And this morning, mowing the lawn this morning, you're always thinking about, sure, what could have been. I liked the crew we had coming back. We had a lot of pitching experience coming back. We had playoff experience coming back. And we had some young talent that was going to join our team as sophomores and juniors. So, sure, it's a what if big time. And I'm always thinking about that. I've never spent a spring in 30 years like this. Like walking around like this is what maybe retirement feels like. It's I should be coaching on a field right now. It's odd this time of year when you're April, May, you're outside and you're not in school or you're not coaching. It's just a weird vibe.
What do you think the biggest takeaway is for the seniors to go forward from this? I know you mentioned, a little bit about the seniors earlier, but what did they need to really take away about just knowing that this is a weird situation? I've been doing a lot of features, like
Sure.
Seniors. I did the feature on Monday about Ryan Cardone from Whitesboro, and he seems to have his kind of ideas about how you move on, and you can't. His whole idea was in baseball, like in life now. You never want to get too high. You never want to get too low. You want to stay focused on what the situation is and how you're going to handle it.
Yep.
As these seniors move on, almost with a season robbed of them, it's a worse feeling than getting a home run robbed off you.
Sure.
What are some things you would recommend just to any seniors, even beyond just your Whites?
Well, just across the board, what they've gone through, nobody's ever gone through that. To be resilient, without a doubt, is going to be a trait that these seniors are going to have. They're going to be resilient to go through this situation with the frustration that goes with it, that feeling of something being taken from you that you didn't do anything wrong, and your season got swiped from you. So I think resilient is number one, and to move on and get back to that. Let's live for tomorrow. Let's not worry about what happened. We got to move on, and we talk about that with baseball. Next pitch, we live with next pitch. You can't stay back into that last inning, that error, that bad at bat you had. You got to flush it. You got to move on and be resilient and be stronger for that. Also, for all the seniors out there, hopefully they'll look at when they get another opportunity to do this, to get back to an activity they enjoy, to really take it in and to really be thankful that they have it again, and really maybe put a little more effort, maybe work a little harder than years past. You know what? You want to take that chance of it getting swiped again and do the best you can with it.
And I guess one of my closing questions for you, personally on my thought list here is, regardless of the situation, your team has had that success that we mentioned at the top. What is it that allows them to be so successful? What messages are you saying when you say that everyone has the same message from when they're young to when they get to varsity?
Sure.
What are some of those messages that you've seen have effectively allowed your team to achieve the success and translate that to the field?
Well, right out of the gate, it's be a great teammate. That's all we talk about. You need to be a teammate. We want to have kids every day with a positive attitude, positive effort, positive body language, positive communication and trust. You have to have that in place. If you have all of that, now you can build on the skills side of the game. But we're heavy into that, be a great teammate type of thing. There's nobody bigger than the team. Every decision is based on what's going to make our team better. Sort of like the Joey Crosley situation from second base to a catcher, from his junior year to his senior year. Same thing. And our players believe in it and they build on it. And again, you're hoping to get that every year. And thankfully, with our coaching staff and our players, they buy it and they do it. And that's a testament to them, our staff, our program, that it's important to them. And they're going to put their individual needs aside for the team's success. And that's something that we always want to have in Whitesboro. And I will, try to attain that yearly.
Coach, my last question, and
Yep.
First I'll apologize. My phone at the radio station ringing.
You're a busy guy. It's all right.
Into the cross section here. But
Busy.
I'm always curious, someone with your coaching experience and how long you've been there, do you have a memory that maybe you've thought of over time where you said you've had more time to think than ever? Something you've been thinking back to, a good memory, a win, a special moment you had with a team or a player, something that really sticks out to you over your time coaching?
Wow. How much time do you have?
Yeah, that's tough. I know.
Every team has their story. Every team has their story. It never gets old. When you win a championship with a team, that's a bond. That's a bond, a lifetime bond. You win a championship, you have that lifetime bond with that player, and it's forever. And I think that's awesome. You could meet up with a former player 10 years from now, 20 years from now. You have that bond. Every team story is different. Like I said, it's that individual team for that year, and they got they got to that situation differently. But a lot of big time moments. I mean, the last 2017, 2019, those games, they took 4 or 5 years off my life, both of those games. I mean, those are things you don't forget. I remember in the JD 2019 game, we're in the bottom of the 10th or 11th, whatever it was. And JD had the game-winning run at third base. And we had I think it was 1 out at the time. And their number 4 hitter comes up with the winning run on third base. And we had a situation where, okay, and in about 20 seconds, I have to decide I could possibly intentionally walk their 4 hitter, set up a first and third situation to get a double play ball, or we're going to bring the infield in and just take care of it right there and go out to the mound. And like it was yesterday, I'm looking at the guys, looking at their eyes, you know, and we're talking about the situations, and we just basically came up with, no, we're going to bring the infield in, we're going to bang them at home, and with that confidence, you know, and that comes with the trust and communication. I didn't go out to the mountain and the kids were like, well, you know, what do we do? They were like, we had it. You know, we knew they knew what I was thinking, and I knew what they were thinking, and made that happen. And again, little ground ball to short, Panuccio charged it, banged the guy at home. That was a possible game ender, you know, and to move on from that, what an adrenaline rush. And then we won it in the next inning. But plays like that, you remember forever. That was a season-changing play. But it came back to, you know, that the connection you have with the players, and you can get through that with confidence because you trust. There's trust there. But every team win is in a sectional situation is tremendous. It's something that it never gets old. You know, it's like, as they say, like the next championship is the best championship. But I've been very fortunate. You know, again, very fortunate with the players we have, and to experience that is outstanding. But we're not done yet. We got to go higher. You know, we've had that Final Four. We've had that regional situation. We want more, you know, and it's something, the door's still left open. We're not satisfied, you know, with just a sectional. We're not satisfied with just a regional. We want to win the whole thing. We want to go for the state. That's the objective. It's not easy. You know, it's not easy. We have the baseball in Section 3 is very good. I know, speaking from the Tri-Valley League in our Utica area, we got a lot of great baseball teams, a lot of great coaches. There's a lot of competition. We have AA, A, B, all mixed in with our division, you know, and then when you get out to Syracuse, there's a lot of quality baseball. Then when you get into regionals, you get into states, my God, you have region, I think it's 4 or 5, and then downstate, Long Island. They're all very good programs when you get to that Final Four state level. It's not easy. You know, you're always going to see a guy on the mound bringing it, you know, no matter who you're playing in that Final Four situation. So it all comes down to the pitching, like it always does in baseball. But when you get to that level, that's the difference. You know, that is the difference.
So final thing right now, I think we'll lead off with this. I was the public announcer / scoreboard operator / music player for my high school varsity baseball team. And I was always interested in the selection of music that they wanted to hear. In a time where there's no baseball right now, we'd typically be hearing, you know, the music between innings and whatnot. What music do you listen to? What music is on your mind to get us through this non-baseball season right now?
Wow, you're going music choices here.
I am.
As far as music, I'm all over the place. I am all over the place. I'm going to date myself right now, but I'm out. Run DMC, Phil Collins, The Who, The Police, Jimmy Buffett. Yeah, I'm all over. When it comes to music, I'm all over. But Jimmy Buffett has a nice summer feel to it. You know, we're in the summer now, approaching the summertime, so it's maybe some Jimmy Buffett between innings, Cheeseburger in Paradise as the guys on deck, you know, things like that. But yeah, music selections, you'll get. I'm all over. I'm very a little bit of country too. You know, we'll throw some country in there, but nothing specific where that's all I listen to.
Yeah, we had Summer of '69. Obviously, we had Bruce Springsteen in our list. Ozzy Osbourne.
Center field.
Yeah, the song that I chose as our winning song. Anytime, obviously, I was, you know, affiliated with my own high school team, so I wanted us to win. Anytime they would win, I'd play "Crazy Train" at the end of the game. So got all those rock songs in there, and some country along the way if players requested it. I allowed that.
Because we're not Whitesboro. We don't have the walk-up songs. We don't have the walk-up songs. You know, we don't have that luxury yet, I guess.
Yeah, the coach had he had gotten a present of his parents had given him a present of a speaker system. So he goes, "We need someone to do announcing," and somehow they found me as a sophomore in high school. So
I could see you nailing that.
We won section.
What high school? What high school did you go to?
Paramus High School.
Paramus, okay. Downstate.
The Spartans. We won sectionals that year, and that, you know, I think it had to do with the music.
Totally, you got to have a mindset, that positive mindset at the plate.
Yeah.
I would have certain songs that I would play to try, if I wanted them to be like a little more hyped up. And the players would let me know if they were like, that's the song for this moment. Like they would tell me.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for joining us, and
Anytime.
to see what happens come football season, and also come just sports coming back, and hopefully baseball eventually too.
Sure. We're hoping, keep our fingers crossed, and we'll hope for the best. You know, we're due to get out of this. It's been too long, obviously too long.
Welcome. Matt Janczuk, you're a racer, dirt car racer, and you actually raced in the Utica Rome Speedway Conquer Corona 30 this week. And that was really the first sporting event in New York, and if not, at least in this area, in months. So what I'm really interested to hear from you is what it was like to just get back out there after waiting, at least for you, since April when you originally would have started.
Yeah, it was just, really exciting, and, it's a family event for us. So my family's raced for years, and you work so hard all winter, and, it's a competitive sport. So you just want to get out there and try to beat the next guy and hope to win. But just glad to hit the track. You don't realize how much you love it until it's not there. And, it's the same way for all the sports and all the sports fans and that want to be in stadiums and watching hockey games and baseball fields and their kids playing sports that they've missed out on. And, I think Utica Rome was very fortunate. Bill and Kim Shea, the owners, they're really, stuck it out and really did a lot of work to try to get this event together, and, contacting the governor's office, working with Vicenti's office in Oneida County, which, everybody worked together to try to make something happen and that make it as safe as possible for everyone. So it was really, really good to make it happen.
I spoke with Mike Mallett the same day that I spoke with you this week, race director, and he was saying probably the biggest difference for this race would have been the lack of fans, meaning like absolutely no fans were there. Was that different for you on the track, either while you were racing or before or after, just for it to be probably quieter than usual?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a different feeling. As far as racing, you don't really pay attention to the fans in the stands. You just know that you're putting on a show. But, Mike's fortunate. Years ago, he started his website with Dirt Track Digest and ventured off into the TV scene too. So, lucky, we're fortunate enough that we knew fans were still watching, so they just weren't there. So we still had a show to put on, and it was just a tremendous amount of fun to just be at the track, really. I mean, it was just to see some of the competitors that you're still friends with as much as your competitor, you're still a friend. And, you just overall great to just be at the track.
Did you get a chance to interact with them a little bit? Obviously, social distancing rules were in place. Everyone was wearing a mask. There were no fans, of course. But did you get a chance to talk with them at all from 6 feet away? Was that even possible while you were doing all of this?
Yeah, very little. I've grown up in the area, so I've been kind of a fixture at that racetrack for a number of years, and since I was a little kid. So, I was offered to help Bill and Kim, to minimize some of the expense there so this race could go on. So I was able to help them actually with the facility and doing some track prep. So I was there early in the morning doing work, and I, had to water the track. So I wasn't able to interact with really too many people, but I think most of the racers were pretty well focused on making sure their equipment was ready for the races. And, first time out's a big deal for everyone, making sure the nuts and bolts are tight and nothing's going to break or fall off. And, people get pretty well occupied with that stuff.
I saw that the weather obviously was pretty nice after a stormier kind of day earlier. So you also, after all of that work, did well in the race, and you've won races at Utica Rome Speedway before. What was it like just to be competing? Did you feel any rust just because of the little extra weight that you did as I'll consider racers obviously athletes in that regard of being back on the track and competing? Did you feel out of step at all, or did anything? Again, you did well, but did it feel different just with the extra wait time? I'm sure a lot of athletes in different sports, whatever they compete in, competitors will be waiting longer than usual to play, and maybe the rhythms changed. What did you kind of experience along those lines?
Yeah, for me, I'm not. It's not. I guess it's physical, but my arms by the end of the night were pretty tired, to be honest with you. And I was fighting an ill-handling car to try to stay in the top three and get to the top three and stay there. So by the end of the night, my arms were for sure sore, and I was ready for bed by the end of the night. So there's really no way to. I guess you can't condition your arms and other than lifting weights, which I don't have time for with the business and my full-time job. So, but it was definitely, you knew we were out of shape when you got done at the end of the night. That's for sure. My arms were a little bit sore from like sawing on the wheel. And, I had a good night considering everything that happened. We got to third, but, we had some issues with some suspension components not being where they were supposed to be in the car. And it was actually making the car not handle very good at all. But we were able to overcome that. And that's the great thing about racing. You got to adapt and overcome, a lot of different things at a spur of a moment. So but it was definitely new car for me this year. It was a brand new car I put together over the winter. So we definitely had some things to work out.
How much do you usually figure those things out before a season starts, or at least earlier in the season, than you would if it were June now and you were first getting on the track and first figuring it out now?
Yeah, I mean, usually we, in a couple of weeks, but there's been so much change in the sport with suspension components. There's just been a tremendous amount of change in the last year in the off season with people switching all of their suspension around. The manufacturers have come up with some new things with switching from torsion bars to coils and short rods, and they've kind of thrown like a whole basket of stuff and say, here, you can try all this stuff out, but then you got to figure it out on your own. So this year is a little bit more of a learning curve for everyone. So everybody's in the same boat that switched over, and I'm trying to do a little bit of my own thing because I guess I'm that way, and I try to do my own thing. And I've mixed a little bit of the new stuff with some of the old stuff, and trying some new shock packages this year with the different shock manufacturer with the Dig Race products shocks. So that's there's a lot of new things for me, that's for sure.
You mentioned to me earlier this week on race day that this was going to be a non-points race just to kind of get everyone back into it and have the race again before hopefully things start again on the regular Sundays and getting back into a schedule now that racing is allowed in New York State, car racing. Do you think, how much do you think that the race actually was successful in living up to that purpose and allowing you guys just to get the feel for everything again and start off as a first race?
I think it was good. It definitely lived up to that. And I think the other important thing for this race was that to have all the racers do what was set in place to do, it was kind of the staple for all the other tracks to follow suit and see how things went. I'm sure that the county was watching at some point in time. I'm sure that they had eyes on the facility to make sure that everybody was playing by the rules and guidelines and that were set up. So I think that was overall the most important thing for the racers to understand. As much as everybody wanted to be there, they had to follow the rules, because if it didn't go right, there was going to be some problems, and it really set the staple for all the other racetracks in New York State to open up.
And you mentioned your business a moment ago, and of course you're wearing the logo and it's behind you on your shoulder, Finish Line Designs. You had mentioned that you helped out the owners with making sure that the race happened and contributing, and you were a title sponsor in there. Why did you decide to help out in that way, and why was it necessary in a time where there are no fans? I mean, they were paying maybe $10 online to watch, but it's definitely not as crowded as it would be, and the money flow is obviously slower when everything's been delayed and you can't be there in person. So how did the business idea play into that and also contribute to allowing the race to even happen?
Yeah, I mean, just being able to, I was in a position that I was able to help out, and I really like Bill and Kim. They've always, been nice to me and great to the fans and racers that they have there. They've always been fair. So I felt if I could help out and really kind of push them to get this race off the ground, and the only way to do it, financially for them, I guess it's, most racetracks are held at fairs, and, they're on fair grounds, where Utica Rome Speedway is private property. There's a mortgage on the place, and from a business standpoint, it's much different than a lot of other racetracks that are in central New York. Like I said, fairgrounds usually own them, so that there's leases on them that are much cheaper than probably the mortgage at Utica Rome. So if I was willing to put some money out there to promote my business and help Kim and Bill, show them that I really thought this would work. And, if I could help out, that I was willing to. So that's what we did. And, it worked out great.
I noticed that in racing, obviously, there are a lot of sponsors involved. And I noticed a lot of the cars that were racing at this race, they all have their different sponsors on there and things like that. And maybe this question is just something that I need to learn more about, so this is a good opportunity to do that if the question doesn't even make sense to begin with. But does having your own business sponsor your car actually help you from a monetary standpoint too, rather than other people are kind of trying to get their name known more so that they can gain the sponsor, whereas you have your kind of mutual connection through yourself?
So it was definitely a filled question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think it out loud as I go. Maybe, like I said, maybe it doesn't make sense. But how does that? Obviously, you had your name on the car, and others do also. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding for the way that people would maybe get their cars sponsored in a way.
Right. So for me, obviously, with my business, it's fairly new. It's a little over a year and a half old, and a lot of my own money goes into the car to begin with. And trying to run my full-time job, plus my wife's running this business full-time. I don't really have a whole lot of time to go market myself for sponsors and get out there. And I thought, what better way to promote my business than put it on my race car. So, race car fans are extremely supportive of businesses that are involved in racing. So I thought that was like a win-win for me. I have a lot of friends that, like I said, it's like a big family. As much as we're competitors on the racetrack, a lot of my friends are race car drivers that I race against. So, just the whole network of people, it's a big network. And so I'm going to advertise my own business and promote that and just keep building my business. And that's kind of why my business is on my car.
What are your hopes for this racing season now that you've gotten this race out of the way? Your hopes for how the season can schedule the races and that you'll be getting back out there on a more frequent basis? Yeah,
this is definitely unique. I was talking with a friend this morning because they scheduled the Utica Rome. I think that hopefully there's another race between now and that race. But I think the 23rd of June, there's a Super Dirt Car Series sportsman race, which we did very well in last year in the series. So, but after that, I don't know what's after that race. So they don't have the series scheduled posted because not all the racetracks are open. So, I guess at this point, it's definitely a different take. You try to win championships, which we've won 7 of them at Utica Rome, and I don't know if that's really in the wheelhouse this year. I think it's right now it's about getting on a racetrack and just trying to win some races.
Do you think that changes the mindset of the sport going forward, or when we get to next season, starting around April again, and there's a full slate, and hopefully everyone can just get back out there for the full schedule? Will it just kind of jump back into where everything left off?
I think things will come back around and be back to normal, but I'm pretty sure for most of this year that people are just going to want to win races and race as much as they can, really, because we've lost so much of it. Just really itching to get back to the track again already. So got some work to do to get my car a little bit better. We finished 3rd, and I guess it's second loser, so we need to do some homework and get our car working better.
Cool. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of the races. It's good to have sports back in this capacity, leading the way. And I appreciate all your insight that you gave earlier this week and today to understand just, what it's like to get back out there. And maybe this will be an example for other sports about getting back and what that process will look like from the competitor and the fan standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate you reaching out to me. And, I think people realize now, and I think they can do it. So I do hope that, government realizes that people can social distance and be responsible, and that these establishments can, hold the others accountable and make stuff happen when it needs to happen.
And you overall felt that the safety guidelines were followed well, you were saying too, that was also obviously put in place, but it was followed well, and overall just led to the success of the event.
I was very pleasantly surprised. I expected to have the few people that, there's always one in a group, right? But I was pleasantly surprised that people really did what they were supposed to, with social distancing, having the masks on, waiting for the bathroom so that they weren't, getting close to each other. I was just really, really impressed with, but it just shows how bad people really want to be at the tracks and get back racing.